Told to make a sword, the human girl sharpened a simple bone. Alara walked slowly through the metal corridors of the alien city. Every step echoed softly, and she could feel the eyes of the alien council on her. Their forms were unlike anything she had seen before, tall, with translucent skin and glowing veins running across their bodies. They watched every human movement as if expecting her to fail immediately. The human girl was small, not even 15 years old, yet she carried herself with a quiet confidence. In her hands she carried nothing but a small satchel of simple tools and a single, long bone she had found near the edge of the desert. To the aliens this was nothing, a toy, an object of mockery. But to Alara it was the beginning of her plan. "Alara," said the head of the council, a being named Vorth, whose glowing blue eyes scanned her carefully. "We have summoned you here to complete a task humans are not capable of. You will forge a sword worthy of battle. Succeed, and you may live among us with some honor. Fail and, you know what failure means." Alara bowed slightly, hiding her nervousness. She had heard stories of humans being used as entertainment or worse, but fear would not guide her. She had spent her life learning to survive, to use her mind when her body was small and weak. And today, she would show them that humans could achieve more than they believed. The council led her to a bright chamber filled with strange alien materials. The floor shimmered with light, and tables displayed gleaming weapons that hummed with energy. Alara's gaze fell on them. Each weapon was a masterpiece, crafted from alloys she could not recognize, polished until they reflected the light. The aliens laughed when they saw the bone in her hand. "That," said one alien, his voice like a soft wind through metal pipes, "that is not a weapon, that is a toy for a child." Alara did not respond. She knelt on the floor and began to study the bone. It was curved with ridges along its length, smooth at the ends but slightly splintered. She ran her fingers along it, noting the points where it was stronger, the places where it might break. The aliens watched her with amusement, sure that she would fail. For hours she worked quietly. She used small stones to scrape the surface, sharpening it slowly. Her hands were cut and bruised, but she did not stop. She ground the edges against the rough stone until they became thin and sharp. She tested the weight, the balance, the feel of it in her hands. Each adjustment made the bone more than just a piece of old material. It became a weapon shaped by thought and care. During the long hours, Alara thought of her village, the humans who had taught her how to survive in harsh lands. She remembered stories of her ancestors, clever and resourceful, able to turn nothing into something valuable. She drew strength from those memories, imagining that each strike against the bone was like a strike against the impossible task ahead. By midday, the aliens grew impatient. They hovered above her, their glowing forms casting strange shadows on the walls. "Time passes, human. You have produced nothing. Do you even know how to craft a weapon?" Vorth's voice was sharp, full of disbelief. Alara paused but did not look up. She whispered to herself as if sharing a secret with the bone, "I will make this work. Watch me." As the sun outside began to sink, the bone had taken on a new form. It was long, sharp at both ends, and surprisingly light. Alara had used natural oils from plants to strengthen it and prevent splintering. She had carved grooves along the handle to improve her grip. To anyone else it might still look like a simple bone, but to her it was ready. When she finally stood, she faced the council, holding the bone with a steady grip. "This is my sword," she said simply. Her voice was soft but carried determination. The aliens erupted in laughter. "You expect us to believe that this," one alien waved at the bone with disdain, "is a sword? This is foolishness." Alara did not flinch. She knew they underestimated her. That was part of the plan. "I will prove it," she said. Vorth leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Very well, human. You will face the trial tomorrow. You will demonstrate the strength, sharpness, and skill of your weapon. Prepare yourself." Alara spent the rest of the day resting, but her mind never stopped working. She visualized every movement, every strike she might make. She imagined the bone cutting through obstacles, piercing targets, and defending her against opponents far larger and stronger than she. Her mind was alive with strategy and possibilities. She slept lightly, dreaming of bending the impossible to her will. The next morning, the council assembled in a massive arena, its walls spiraling high into the sky. Alien spectators crowded every level, whispering and laughing at the idea of a human girl facing the trial with a simple bone. Alara stood at the center, her weapon in hand, and took a deep breath. The trial began with simple tests. Targets shaped like alien warriors emerged from the walls. Energy barriers shimmered in front of her. The bone in her hand seemed fragile, but Alara moved with precision. She struck the first target and the bone cut cleanly through it. A murmur went through the crowd. She hit the second, the third, and the energy barrier. The bone, sharpened and strengthened by her care, held firm. The aliens were startled. No human had ever performed so well. Whispers of doubt spread among the council. Could it be that humans were not as weak as they believed? Next, the trial became more challenging. Mechanical warriors, larger and faster than any human, advanced toward her. Their weapons glowed with energy, and their movements were calculated to overwhelm. Alara dodged and parried, using the bone's lightness to her advantage. She anticipated their attacks, twisting and turning, striking at weak points with accuracy born of observation and instinct. Despite the danger, she remained calm. Her heart beat steadily, her mind focused. Every movement was a lesson in ingenuity, every strike a demonstration that cleverness could overcome raw strength. The bone, which the aliens had mocked, became an extension of her will. She could feel it respond, every groove and edge allowing her to manipulate it as if it were alive. The council watched in disbelief. Alara's performance was more than skill, it was a statement. Humans might be small, but they were adaptable, creative, and determined. Every strike and parry challenged the assumptions of the alien world. By the end of the day, the trial concluded. Alara had not only survived, but she had excelled. She had demonstrated that a human could turn a simple object into a weapon capable of precision, strength, and effectiveness. The aliens were silent, their previous laughter replaced by astonishment. Vorth stepped forward. His glowing eyes softened slightly, a rare display of respect. "Human, you have exceeded expectations. This bone, your work is remarkable. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind." Alara bowed, a small smile on her face. She had not yet won the day, but she had proven that human ingenuity could not be dismissed. The first part of her journey was complete. She had taken the impossible task and turned it into a display of skill and determination. As she left the arena, she felt a surge of pride. The bone in her hand was no longer just a simple piece of material. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, she had shown that even a small human girl could stand against a world that doubted her. And in that moment, Alara knew that the story of humans, sharp and clever, was only beginning. The morning sun rose over the alien city, casting long shadows across the massive arena. Alara stood at its center, gripping the bone tightly in her hands. Her muscles were tense but ready, her mind alive with plans. Today was the real test. The first trial had been just a beginning, a way to show that humans could survive and adapt. But now, the council wanted more. They wanted proof that ingenuity could surpass technology. The crowd of aliens filled every level of the arena. Their translucent forms shimmered in the sunlight, their glowing veins pulsing as they whispered to one another. Some still doubted her, but others were curious. Could a human girl truly wield a simple bone as a weapon against their advanced machines? Vorth floated to the center, his glowing blue eyes fixed on her. "Human, today your trial will test skill, precision, and strategy. Your opponents will be mechanical warriors designed to challenge the strongest of beings. Succeed, and you will gain our recognition. fail, and he let the threat hang in the air. Alara ignored it, keeping her focus steady. The gates of the arena opened, revealing the first wave of challenges. Mechanical warriors, sleek and fast, moved toward her. Their glowing weapons extended from their arms, crackling with energy. The aliens gasped. No human had ever faced these machines alone. Alara inhaled deeply. She studied their movements carefully, noting patterns and weaknesses. The bone in her hand felt light and perfect, almost like it was made for her, not for raw force but for control, speed, and precision. She remembered the long hours of sharpening, the careful shaping, and the strengthening oils. Every effort was about to be tested. The first machine lunged. Alara sidestepped gracefully, letting the momentum carry her past. She slashed with the bone, aiming not for brute destruction but for the weak points she had observed. The bone struck a joint, and the machine stumbled. Murmurs ran through the alien crowd. She had damaged a mechanical warrior with nothing but a sharpened bone. The next attack came faster. Two machines lunged at her simultaneously, forcing her to dodge, jump, and spin. She moved as if she were dancing, each motion purposeful. She used the bone to trip one machine, then pivoted and struck the other at a sensitive spot, causing sparks to fly. The crowd was silent now, watching intently, some leaning closer as if they could not believe what they saw. Hours passed as wave after wave of machines came. Alara never faltered. Her small size allowed her to slip between attacks that larger beings could not avoid. Her mind constantly analyzed, adjusted, and adapted. Each move built upon the last, showing creativity and intelligence rather than raw strength. The bone, once laughed at, became a symbol of human ingenuity in motion. During a brief pause, Vorth approached her. "Human," he said, his voice almost respectful, "your skill is beyond what we expected, but the trial is not over. The final test will challenge your strategy as much as your combat. You must face the largest of our machines alone. Prepare yourself." Alara nodded. She felt a thrill of excitement. This was the challenge she had been waiting for. Not just to survive, but to prove that thought, observation, and cleverness could triumph over size, strength, and technology. The ground trembled as the final machine appeared. Towering above the arena, it was heavily armored, with energy shields and weapons capable of devastating destruction. The crowd gasped and stepped back, some whispering nervously. Alara did not flinch. She studied the giant carefully, noticing its slow but deliberate movements and the pattern of its shield activation. Alara began to move. She darted to the side, avoiding the first energy strike. She ran toward a wall, leaped, and used the momentum to strike the machine at its leg with the bone. The bone cracked slightly, but the groove she had carved along its length allowed her to twist it and apply maximum force without breaking. The machine staggered. The aliens were silent. They had never seen a human do anything like this. Alara did not give them a chance to recover. She used her small size to move under the machine's shield, striking joints and gears where the energy could not protect it. Each strike was precise, each movement calculated. The bone, simple yet perfected, was the instrument of her strategy. Minutes felt like hours as the battle continued. Alara was agile, always moving, always thinking. She improvised traps, kicking debris to slow the machine, and used her environment cleverly. Every action showed her intelligence and adaptability. The crowd began to cheer, some aliens clapping and gasping in astonishment. Humans were supposed to be weak and simple, yet here was one using a bone to challenge what they considered unstoppable. Finally, with a well-timed strike to the machine's central joint, the massive warrior fell, sparking and smoking. Silence fell over the arena. Then slowly, the aliens began to applaud. Even Vorth's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of respect. He floated forward. "Human, your skill and ingenuity are extraordinary. You have taken a simple object and turned it into a weapon capable of defeating our most advanced machines." You have proven something remarkable. Alara bowed slightly, her chest rising and falling with exertion. The bone in her hand was worn and cracked, but it had done exactly what she needed. She had used her mind, observation, and creativity to triumph over technology that was supposed to be beyond any human's ability to defeat. The crowd erupted in cheers, some of the younger aliens running forward to touch the bone, amazed at its effectiveness. Alara smiled quietly to herself. Today, she had shown that humans were not to be underestimated. Ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could overcome even the greatest odds. As the sun began to set over the arena, casting long shadows across the victorious girl and her simple bone, Vorth addressed the crowd. Let this day be remembered. Humans may be small, but their minds are sharp. Ingenuity can overcome power, and courage can defy expectation. Today, this human girl has shown us the truth. Alara looked out over the crowd, her heart filled with pride. She had faced impossible odds and she had succeeded. The bone in her hand was no longer just a simple object. It was a testament to human resilience, creativity, and determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, she had won the admiration of an entire alien world. The test of ingenuity was complete, and humanity's potential had been revealed. The story of a small human girl sharpening a simple bone to create a weapon of great power was only beginning, and the world would remember it for generations. The day dawned bright over the alien city, the sky painted in streaks of gold and violet. Alara stood at the edge of the arena, the bone weapon in her hand, now worn from trials but still sharp and balanced. Today was the final test, the one that would not just prove her skill but define her place among the aliens. Word had spread of her previous victories, and whispers filled the streets and the upper levels of the arena. The council had gathered again, their glowing eyes fixed on her. Even Vorth, whose skepticism had once been harsh, now looked at her with respect. "Human," he said, "today your ingenuity will be tested against a true threat. This is not a simulation. Face it with courage and you may inspire your kind and ours alike." Alara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. She knew this challenge would be unlike any mechanical test, any trial in the arena. Today, she faced a living, breathing adversary, a rogue alien beast that had broken free from containment. Reports said it was massive, with armored scales and razor-sharp claws, capable of destruction the Council's machines could barely match. The ground shook as the creature approached. Its roar echoed through the arena, a sound that made even the bravest aliens flinch. It was bigger than any machine she had faced, faster and stronger, with instincts no algorithm could predict. Yet Alara felt no fear. Fear had never helped her. Instead, she focused on observation, on reading movement and opportunity. She gripped the bone tightly and stepped forward. The first strike came, fast and furious. The beast lunged with a claw aimed at her torso. Alara rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. The bone felt light in her hand, responsive to her movements. She struck at the creature's leg not to kill, but to test its defenses and find weaknesses. The creature stumbled slightly, surprised by the human's daring. Alara moved like a shadow, her small size and speed giving her an advantage against brute strength. She dodged, leapt, and spun, striking at weak points she had identified, between scales under joints at exposed areas. The bone, honed and strong, absorbed impact and delivered precise blows. Sparks flew as it scraped against armored surfaces, but it held. The aliens watched in awe. Some had never seen a human move with such courage and skill. They had always considered humans weak, simple, unable to face challenges beyond basic survival. But here was one human, facing a living monster with nothing but a sharpened bone and a mind full of strategy. Minutes stretched into long, tense moments. The beast was relentless, charging, lunging, swinging claws with terrifying force. Alara barely kept pace, using every bit of her training, every observation she had made in previous trials. She anticipated attacks, feinted, and redirected the creature's momentum against itself. Each strike was carefully placed, each movement calculated. She fought not with strength alone, but with thought and agility. She noticed patterns. The creature favored certain strikes, its movements predictable after repeated attempts. Alara used this knowledge to set traps using debris in the arena, kicking small boulders to distract, drawing the beast into positions where she could strike more effectively. The bone, simple yet perfect for her style, allowed her to maneuver with speed and precision. She was small, yes, but her mind was sharp, her strategy superior. Hours seemed to pass as she engaged the beast in a relentless battle. Her body ached, but she did not stop. Humans were survivors, adaptable and resourceful, and she embodied that spirit. With each dodge, each strike, she turned the impossible into reality, showing that courage and intelligence could overcome raw power. Finally, she saw the opening she had been waiting for. The beast overextended in an attack, exposing a soft spot under its armored shoulder. Alara ran, leapt, and drove the bone into the vulnerable area with all her strength. The creature roared in pain, staggering and losing balance. Using momentum, she twisted the bone, levering the beast to the ground. Dust and debris filled the air as it hit the arena floor with a tremendous impact. Silence fell. The aliens held their breath. Slowly, the beast rose, then hesitated, sensing the human's persistence and skill. Alara did not give it a chance to recover. She used her agility to stay just out of reach, striking at the same vulnerable spots repeatedly, until the creature finally collapsed, exhausted and subdued. The crowd erupted in cheers and astonished cries. The humans, small and underestimated, had triumphed. Alara stood over the defeated creature, panting but smiling. The bone in her hand, once considered useless, had been her instrument of victory. It was more than a weapon. It was proof that cleverness, courage, and creativity could defeat even the strongest opponents. Vorth floated forward, his glowing eyes wide with respect. Human, today you have not only survived but triumphed where others would have failed. You have turned a simple object into a tool of strategy and courage. You have shown that humans possess qualities we once doubted. Your ingenuity is remarkable. Alara lowered the bone, her chest rising and falling as she caught her breath. She felt pride, yes, but also a sense of purpose. Today, she had proven more than personal skill. She had proven humanity. Small, underestimated, and thought weak, humans could overcome incredible odds through thought, creativity, and courage. The crowd, alien and human alike, erupted into celebration. Alara's story, the story of a girl sharpening a simple bone to face impossible challenges, would be told for generations. The bone itself, worn and marked by battles, became a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Even the aliens who had doubted her now spoke of humans with newfound respect. As she stepped out of the arena, the city around her seemed different. The aliens who had once dismissed her now regarded her with awe. She had earned their respect and, more importantly, had changed perceptions about humans forever. Alara knew that tomorrow might bring new challenges, but she had proven a simple truth: humans could overcome the impossible. That night, as she rested in a small room provided by the council, she looked at the bone and smiled. It was more than a weapon. It was a reminder of what humans could do when they combined courage, intelligence, and creativity. Even in a world that doubted them, even against creatures and machines far stronger than themselves, humans could prevail. And Alara, the human girl with the sharpened bone, had become the living proof. The stars outside twinkled, and Alara thought of her village, her people, and all humans who had come before her. They had survived, adapted, and thrived in a universe that often seemed impossible. Today, she had added a new story to that legacy. One day, others would hear of how a small human girl, armed with nothing but a simple bone, had faced the most powerful creatures of an alien world and triumphed. In that moment, Alara knew that this was only the beginning. Humans had a place in the universe, a story to tell and strength beyond what others imagined. The bone in her hand, sharpened and simple, was proof that even the humblest tools, guided by cleverness and courage, could achieve greatness. Humanity had triumphed, and the world would remember it for generations to come.